Good afternoon. I'm meteorologist Bo Dodson. It's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I just wanted to update you on Hermine. For those of you traveling, I know several of you are going to Florida over the next few days. We take a look at the satellite view this morning. Now, this has increased to about 75 miles per hour, and it is a hurricane now. The impacts are mainly going to be storm surge and then some very heavy rain along its path. Anywhere from 6 to 10 inches of rain will be possible in the maximum rain areas. We see the National Hurricane Center has outlined this cone, and that's pretty much where the path, the center of the system will pass through. Now, keep in mind that rain bands extend well to the east into central Florida. We do also have a tornado watch and some tornado warnings in central Florida as well. Oftentimes what happens is along these outer bands, especially on the east and northeast side of the center, here's the center, you'll have storms that will rotate and you'll get some short-lived tornadoes. Now, these tornadoes can, of course, cause damage like any other tornado. Most of them end up being EF0, EF1, and some EF2s. But keep that in mind that tornadoes will be possible along the path. Now, for those of you headed towards Destin, westward, we will have some rain, but this is very much a lopsided storm, and let me tell you what I mean by that. We take a look here at the wind radius here on this map, and you see most of this is slanted to the east. Here's Hermine, and you see the western side, but most of the wind is located on the eastern side of this system, and that's good news for you guys in the Florida Panhandle, especially Destin westward, because that means you'll be spared the worst of the storm. Now, for those of you near Destin or east, southeast of there, you will not be spared, especially here in the center here, the Bend area of the Florida Panhandle. This is where the core of the system will be passing. Storm surge several feet high. You're going to have flooding right along the coastline. Of course, the very heavy rain. Keep in mind also, you will have showers and thunderstorms further west here as the system passes by. It's just that the most of the system will be what I call lopsided, or an eastern side of the system. Let's take a look at a couple of more maps here for you. Let's just turn off the satellite view this morning and let's take a look at the watches and warnings. Let me find that button. There we go. So we do have hurricane warnings, we have tropical storm warnings, we have tornado watches. All of these red counties are either tropical storm warnings or hurricane warnings. The hurricane warnings are mostly in this area right here, and then your tropical storm warnings extend out further. Now, you'll notice that this system is going to move northeast and continue up along the coastline, so you also have tropical storm warnings all the way into the Myrtle Beach area. You have tropical storm warnings into North Carolina, and then you also have a tropical storm watch for parts of North Carolina as well, more the center and the northern part along the coastline for the watch. As this system moves up along the coastline, you can expect very heavy rain, some isolated tornadoes as well, and then we're going to have to watch it as it moves into the northeast. But the main concern today will be along the Florida coastline and then inland as we move into tonight and tomorrow towards Georgia. Let's just take a look at a radar view here at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon of this system, and you see it churning here off the Florida coast. Let's try to get our bearing here. Here's Tampa. You see these red boxes. These are tornado warnings that are being issued, these purple, pink boxes, red boxes, and those are those little thunderstorms that I mentioned earlier that could rotate and produce brief tornadoes. It's not uncommon at all to have tornadoes associated with tropical weather systems, again, mainly on the east side and northeast side. We see the center out here still well offshore, but that will come ashore later this afternoon into tonight and tomorrow morning. Slowly but surely it will make its way into the Florida Panhandle, the Bend area of the Florida Panhandle, and then into Georgia. With very heavy rain, flash flood warnings are likely going to have to be issued along most of its path as it moves into Florida and in southern Georgia as well. So any of you traveling, you'll want to keep an eye on the latest watches and warnings. For you guys going from Destin westward, you should be okay from this system. You're going to have rip currents to deal with. you will have some showers and thunderstorms. But again, most of this system will be off to the east and southeast of you. Also keep in mind that this is not going to run the weekend for those of you who are traveling to the Tampa area or anywhere else here in Florida. This will get in and out of there by tomorrow, and that should leave the weekend fairly nice. Normally once a hurricane passes, you have sinking air and you do have nicer weather, and so that is to be expected. I think that most of the areas will have a quick cleanup from this system. Probably the areas that will be slower to clean up will be right along the center path, where there may be some wind damage with winds gusting to 70, 80 miles per hour as the hurricane moves ashore. All right, and for those of you traveling to the East Coast for the holiday weekend, you are going to have to deal with this into the Carolinas, into Virginia, and then eventually into New England. So if you have travel plans to Virginia Beach, Myrtle Beach, Savannah, those areas, even into the Boston area up in New England, you'll want to keep an eye on the latest track to see where this tracks, to see where the rain bands will end up, and then you'll probably have additional watches and warnings issued along its path. Okay, I hope you have a nice holiday weekend. Hopefully this won't ruin your plans, and have safe travels.